Revealed, millionaire frozen in time as ex-wife serves tables, pregnant with shocking news. Charlie sat in the corner booth of Dottie's diner, staring at the fading photographs on the wall. Each one seemed to mock him, capturing a time when he swaggered through life, a suited titan feared and respected in his Midwestern city. Now, he was a ghost, a mere shadow in his own life, clutching a faded cup of coffee and drowning in regret. Across the bustling diner, Lisa moved with a grace that belied the exhaustion on her face. The worn gray apron she wore was a stark contrast to the spunky smile she offered the patrons. For a moment, Charlie's heart tightened. The sight of her serving plates to the regulars and exchanging playful banter made him remember the woman he once loved fiercely. She tucked a stray hair behind her ear, and it hit him hard. He left her when she needed him most. Each time Lisa approached his table, his heart raced. He could see resilience in her eyes, but that resilience was eroding under the weight of whispered rumors. As the clamor of the diner faded, his mind spiraled back to their past, the late nights spent dreaming about their future, now tarnished by the bottom dropping out of his world. But then, just as she laid a plate of steaming pancakes in front of him, she leaned closer, her voice trembling. "Charlie, I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air like a cannonball, shattering the silence. It was an unexpected twist in their already tangled story, a child whose existence felt both beautiful and terrifying. Charlie felt a surge of emotions crash over him, a wave of responsibility, fear, and a flicker of hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension in Charlie's chest tightened as the weight of the situation pressed down. The diner had never just been a place to eat, it was a home, a refuge for Lisa and the townsfolk. Yet, doom loomed with the threat of an impending health inspection set to force the diner's closure. Lisa needed him now, not as a former husband but as a partner, even as the memories of their fractured love felt like poison in his veins. As they banded together, soliciting support from the townspeople who once held him in such high regard, Charlie began to realize the strength of community around them. The diner was more than just a business, it symbolized hope and shared humanity, threading their stories and dreams together. And for the first time in a long while, Charlie felt a hint of healing, but even as laughter filled the diner, the inspection loomed closer, and Charlie's resolve wavered. Was he strong enough to redefine his identity, to reconcile with the past and embrace the future as a father? As they prepped for the inspection, Lisa caught him off guard, whispering, "Charlie, we'll get through this together." Her belief ignited a fire within him. Could love be enough to build a future from the ashes of their past? The diner stood on the brink, just as their relationship hovered between revival and collapse. Would they find the strength to rise against the odds? Charlie watched Lisa bustle around the diner, her apron still as weary as the shadows under her eyes. The pancakes, warm and fluffy, lost their charm as he stared at them, thinking about the life she was growing inside her, dependent on them both. Regret clawed at him, a persistent reminder of the way he'd abandoned her when she needed him most. What if there's no way to save the diner? He murmured under his breath, a question that felt heavy with uncertainty. Struggling against the weight of the looming inspection, the air thickened with unspoken words. Lisa turned abruptly, her laughter suddenly stripped away. "Charlie, we have to believe. If we don't, what hope do we have?" Her voice was stronger now, defiant even, and it sent a shiver down his spine. He could see the flicker of determination in her eyes, and for a moment, he believed her too. They primed the diner for the inspection in a flurry of movement. Cleaning wipes clashed against stubborn grease as they scrubbed every inch, the diner's soul absorbing their efforts. The townsfolk pitched in, spreading the word that Dottie's was the heart of their community. The camaraderie felt electric, and Charlie fed on the energy, but each smile from the patrons reminded him of what was at stake. Hours merged into a blur as they hustled. When the door swung open, a bell jingled, letting the sunlight spill into the diner. Charlie's breath hitched. It was the health inspector. A serious man in a crisp white shirt, he stood at the threshold, eyeing their hard work. Charlie's heart raced as he stepped forward. "Good morning. Welcome to Dottie's. We're just getting ready." Charlie's words stumbled over each other, sounding overly cheerful against his rising anxiety. The inspector barely acknowledged him, his gaze locked on the walls, the kitchen, the clientele enjoying their meals. Charlie shot a worried glance toward Lisa, who was arranging fresh flowers on tables, a vein of anxiety threading between them. Just as the inspector moved toward the kitchen, a panicked family of regulars burst through the door. "Charlie! Lisa! You need to see this." A sense of urgency crackled in the air. Their smiles faded as the couple approached, worry written all over their faces. "What's wrong?" Lisa asked, her smile faltering as she reached out instinctively, grasping Charlie's hand. "The rumors. It's gotten worse. People are saying the diner's going to shut with the inspection, and they're not going to stop until they force it to close." The man's voice trembled, fear spilling from his lips. Charlie met Lisa's wide eyes. They both understood the stakes were raised, yet deep inside, he felt a flicker of something, perhaps an ember of hope ignited by the presence of their community. He turned back to the inspector, and in that moment, a new determination surged within him. "We'll show them what Dottie's really means to this town." As they stood, hands intertwined, ready to stand against the tide, Charlie felt a swell of pride. They weren't alone, they had each other, an unexpected family forming in the face of adversity. Whatever happened during the inspection, they would face it together, but just as the inspection began, a commotion erupted outside. Charlie stepped outside to see a crowd gathered, their faces aglow with a newfound hope, or was it desperation? What could happen next? Would this be the moment that turned it all around, or would it lead to their worst fears unfolding? Charlie's heart raced as he saw the crowd forming, a wave of familiar faces spilling from the diner. Each person held something: banners, signs, homemade placards, all declaring their love for Dottie's. In the midst of it, Charlie caught sight of Mrs. Henderson, the town's unofficial historian, her formidable presence accentuated by a giant sign that proclaimed, "Dottie's, our heart and home." The air buzzed with voices, all echoing the same sentiment. "We're not going to let them take our diner." Someone shouted, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Charlie stepped forward, feeling Lisa's hand squeeze his tightly. She shared in his office, a mixture of disbelief and pride gleaming in her eyes. This was more than just a fight for the diner, it was a stand for everything good and warm that Dottie's represented. "Listen up," Charlie called out, raising his voice above the din. "We need to show this inspector that Dottie's is not just a diner, it's part of who we are. It's our community." Cheers erupted again, people nodding and raising their signs like soldiers ready for battle. Lisa looked up, her eyes moist with emotion, reflecting the pride swelling in her chest. "That's right," she called out, her confidence infectious. "This is our home. A place where memories are made, where families gather. It's a part of our history." But beneath the surface, doubt creeped into Charlie's mind. What if this show of strength didn't mean anything? Would the inspector even care? "Charlie!" a voice cried, pulling him from his thoughts. It was the inspector, stepping outside, his brow furrowed. "What's happening here?" The crowd went silent, eyes shifting between the inspector and Charlie, waiting for him to speak on their behalf. Charlie felt the weight of their gaze, and time seemed to stretch as he considered his words. "Sir, what you see is the community standing together. Dottie's is more than bricks and mortar. It's about family, friendship, and love." The inspector's expression softened for just a moment as he surveyed the gathered townsfolk. "I'm just here to do my job. Then let us show you why we need this diner," Charlie pressed, the urgency mounting in his chest. Consider the heart of this place, the happiness it brings. Each plate served here carries stories, lives intertwined. Can't you see it? With a deep breath, the inspector hesitated, visibly torn by the unity before him. The crowd remained, waiting, their breath held in collective anticipation. However, just then, another shout echoed from the back of the crowd. Don't forget about Charlie's bakery. He's a world-class chef. The crowd erupted again, voices lifting in a crescendo. Someone waved a sign that read, Charlie and Lisa for Dottie's. And it sent a shiver through both of them. Suddenly, the inspector adjusted his clipboard, eyes darting back towards the diner. It's south clear that this place means something to you all. But, there are regulations to follow. What will it take to meet those standards? Charlie's mind spun. This was it. The chance to not just save the diner but to prove they could rise up, to adapt and grow, to show the inspector that they deserved a chance because they were all in this together. As he opened his mouth to respond, a loud crash echoed from the back of the diner, pulling everyone's attention away. It sounded like disaster. Charlie felt a sinking feeling in his stomach. What now? He whispered to Lisa, but she was already moving towards the entrance, her determination thickening the air around them. Stay here. I'll check it out. The moment felt taut, like a rubber band ready to snap. Whatever lay behind that threshold could change everything. What had just happened within Dottie's walls, and would they be ready for the aftermath? Would this unforeseen twist pull them closer to hope or plunge them deeper into chaos? Charlie watched Lisa dart towards the diner, her courage electrifying. The crowd's excitement shifted to anxious murmurs, eyes flickering from the inspector back to the diner. Panic tinged the air. Do you think she'll be okay? A voice from the crowd broke through his thoughts, echoing his own fears. I don't know, Charlie admitted, his gut twisting. If anything happened to Lisa, before he could dwell on that, the inspector tapped his clipboard and adjusted his glasses. I need to assess the situation. The noise and commotion could lead to safety issues. His words felt like cold water against the warmth of community spirit. Please. Charlie stepped closer, desperation edging his tone. You can't just walk away. Dottie's is everything to us. There has to be a way. Let us show you what this place means. The inspector sighed, looking around at the townspeople, whose expressions reflected both hope and fear. Fine, he relented, but I'm not moving my schedule around for a distraction. A loud crash echoed again, shaking the ground underfoot, and then Charlie heard a faint cry. It was muffled, but unmistakable. Help! Everyone shifted uneasily, moving closer to the diner. Charlie felt the warmth of community tighten around him as he stepped forward, instinct taking over. The crowd followed, urging each other on. Let us go. Charlie shouted, stepping through the door. Inside, chaos reigned. Tables were overturned and dishes lay scattered like fragile memories across the floor. In the midst of it all, Lisa knelt near a fallen shelf, her eyes wide. Charlie. She called, urgency slicing through the air. I think there's someone trapped. His heart lurched. Who? It's Dottie. Panic erupted as Charlie rushed to her side, the crowd spilling into the diner behind him, eyes wide with concern and despair. There was Dottie, pinned under a heavy wooden shelf. Her face was pale, but she managed a weak smile. Looks like I got a little overambitious, she joked, trying to lighten the mood despite her predicament. Don't move, Dottie. We're gonna get you out, Charlie said, kneeling down to assess the situation. The inspector shouldered his way through the crowd, clipboard forgotten as he pulled off his jacket and motioned for others to help. All right, let us lift that. Together, they positioned themselves, waiting for the inspector's command. The weight of fear mixed with hope filled the room, the air thick with determination. As they heaved the shelf up, Dottie winced, but she kept her eyes on Charlie. "Thank you, my dear," she whispered, her voice soft but steady, giving him strength. Finally, with a final grunt, the shelf lifted clear. Lisa was there, her hands shaking as she reached for Dottie, pulling her away from danger. Once clear, Dottie sat against the wall, catching her breath, surrounded by her beloved community. "I'm okay, really," she wheezed. "Just a little bruised." Relief swept through Charlie like a wave. Cheers erupted from the crowd, voices lifting in gratitude and joy, but the inspector remained quiet, his face inscrutable as he scribbled notes. "See?" Charlie turned to him, hope lighting a path through his doubt. "This is what Dottie's means to us. It's about more than regulations, it's about family. We're here for each other, through thick and thin." Maybe so, the inspector mused, his eyes softening ever so slightly. But regulations still exist, and... Just as he spoke, a small voice interrupted from behind the mayor. "I saw it happen. Dottie just wanted to fix the shelves before lunch." The crowd gasped, shifting as they turned their attention to a small girl standing with her mother, wide-eyed and innocent. Suddenly, a collective realization washed over the room, a reminder that Dottie's wasn't just a diner, it was woven into the very fabric of their lives. "Maybe it's time to give this community a chance," the inspector said slowly, glancing around at their expectant faces. But just as Charlie felt the spark of hope igniting, Lisa's expression shifted. "Charlie," she whispered, pointing toward Dottie, who suddenly looked pale again. "What is it?" Dottie raised a trembling hand, her voice faltering. "There's something you all need to know." Charlie's heart raced again, fear creeping in. What could she possibly say now? Would this revelation draw them together or pull them apart? Dottie took a deep breath, her face betraying both concern and resolve. "There's no easy way to say this, but I've been keeping something from you all." The room fell silent, a heavy blanket of anticipation draped over the crowd. Charles could feel every heartbeat, including his own, thudding loudly in his chest. "What do you mean, Dottie?" Charlie asked, stepping a bit closer, trying to catch her gaze. The hope they had just built felt fragile, like glass, and he was terrified of it shattering. She glanced at the small girl who had spoken up earlier, then back at Charlie. "It's about why I started Dottie South in the first place. Why I've worked so hard all these years." Her voice wavered. "You see, it wasn't just about serving food or making a living. It was about giving something back. Something that meant more than just a paycheck." Lisa knelt beside Dottie, her face full of concern. "What do you mean?" she asked softly, her eyes searching Dottie's. Dottie's breath hitched. "I opened this diner to pay for my son's treatment when he was ill. He's the reason for every sunrise I've ever seen. But he didn't pull through." A tear slipped down Dottie's cheek, glistening like a small star against the pale backdrop of her skin. A wave of sorrow swept through the patrons, everyone absorbing the revelation like a sponge. Charlie felt it too, the chill of loss creeping in. Dottie's energy felt heavier now, as if she carried the burden of not just her own grief, but their collective remembrance of all the hearts lost too soon. "What you don't know," Dottie continued, her voice quiet but steadfast, "is that I've found a new way to honor him by helping this community, by making Dottie's a haven for everyone." She paused, searching the crowd for understanding. "And that's why I couldn't let it close. It's not just my story, it's all of ours." "Dottie," Charlie said, his heart swelling with emotion. "You didn't have to carry that alone. We're all here for you." The crowd nodded, voices murmuring in agreement, sharing glances that spoke of gratitude and a deeper connection. Charlie could see the inspector's demeanor shift, his stern expression replaced by a softening of the edges. "Your son," the inspector began, having taken a step forward, "he would be proud of your work, of this community that you've nurtured." "Thank you," Dottie replied, her voice barely above a whisper, but the warmth of her gratitude hung in the air. Just as the room exhaled, the little girl piped up again, her innocent tone slicing through the thick tension. "Is it true? Are you going to tell everyone about the treasure? The room paused, eyes darting to the girl. Dottie and Charlie exchanged confused looks. Treasure? Charlie echoed, brow furrowing. Lisa leaned forward, intrigued. What are you talking about, sweetheart? The girl's eyes shined bright, excitement bubbling within her. The treasure in the basement. Dottie told us stories. Dottie opened her mouth, halted by disbelief. I never mentioned. I don't even know if it's real. Maybe it isn't, the little girl said, holding her mother's hand tightly, but it's what we all need sometimes. A little hope? Hope? Dottie echoed, a smile breaking through her previously solemn visage. Well, we can always use that. With a newfound glimmer of humor and energy, Dottie looked at Charlie. Maybe we really should check it out for the sake of hope, of course. As laughter mingled with the tears, the crowd began to shift, energized by possibility. But still, there was something lingering in Dottie's eyes, a hesitation that made Charlie's stomach crunch. Dottie? He asked gently. Are there other things we don't know? She opened her mouth, but the inspector stepped forward again, shaking his head with deliberation. Before we dig into any treasure hunts, I think it's imperative we discuss safety protocols, he stated firmly. But Charlie, driven by his gut, could sense that the real treasure stood not just in physical riches but in Dottie's story, the community's resilience, and the bonds that held them together. Wait! He called out impulsively. Let us hear Dottie's whole story first. The inspector shot him a skeptical glance. There, in the crowded diner, everyone looked from Charlie to Dottie, an electric anticipation in the air. Could the diner truly hold the key to deeper secrets that connected them all in unexpected ways? Dottie hesitated but then nodded, meeting Charlie's gaze with renewed courage. All right, then. Let us start from the beginning, and as her voice began to weave the tapestry of her past, Charlie leaned in closer, the excitement in his heart merging with a formidable fear. What if the truth was as heavy as the shelves that had fallen? Dottie took a moment, gathering her thoughts as she looked around the room. The faces surrounding her were a mix of encouragement and apprehension. Each person seemed to hold their breath, ready to grasp onto whatever threads of her past she would share. There was a time, she began, her voice steadying, when I believed everything was perfect. My son, Jamie, was the light of my life. He was smart, full of energy, always asking questions. A soft laugh escaped her lips, filling the heavy air. You would think he was a little scientist, always ready to explore. But then life took a turn. Charlie could see Dottie's hands tremble slightly as she reminisced. Memories gripped her, anchoring her in both joy and sorrow. Jamie was diagnosed with a rare illness, she continued, her tone growing somber. It was like a storm had rolled in, and it didn't just hurt him. It shattered our whole world. The bills piled up quicker than I could handle. I had to make a decision. I needed a way to fight back. A soft murmur spread through the audience. The pain in Dottie's eyes was palpable, a collective heartache echoing back from every listener. I opened Dottie's that year, thinking it would be my way of providing for him. I poured every ounce of my love into this diner. This wasn't just a job, it was a lifeline. Dottie paused, looking around the room. Every plate, every cup of coffee, it was for him. I thought I could save him. The little girl squeezed her mother's hand tighter, sensing the weight of Dottie's words. But Jamie didn't survive, Dottie whispered, tears brimming. And there I was, with a diner full of hope but without the one person who made all this worth it. A hushed silence fell over the crowd, the reality of loss settled heavily. But it became clear, Dottie resumed, her voice gaining strength. I could still honor him. Each day I see you all walk through these doors, people laughing, sharing stories, finding comfort in food and friendship. That's when I realized I'm not alone. Charlie could feel the energy shift in the room. What began with sorrow slowly transformed into a wave of resilience. It was moving, it filled the cracks of heartbreak with a warmth that felt genuine. Then came the memory of the girl's mention of a treasure. And as for that treasure, Dottie smiled through tears. Maybe the real treasure is this very place. It's the relationships we've built. The strength we find together. Or it could be a collection of old salt shakers. Lisa joked, attempting to lighten the mood. The tension broke, laughter danced through the diner, bringing smiles amidst the sadness. With the environment lifted, a new sense of optimism emerged. Dottie looked at Charlie, her eyes shining with defiance. Maybe there's something down in the basement after all. Something waiting to be revealed. Maybe so, Charlie replied, hope winging a bit stronger in his chest. And if it is a treasure, let it be something that reminds us of how far we've come together. With laughter still bubbling in the air from Lisa's comment, the inspector cleared his throat, the serious tone returning. Before we get carried away with treasure hunting, I suggest we take a step back and make sure it's safe down there. Oh, come on. Someone in the back shouted, eliciting a chorus of agreement. What's a little adventure? Dottie chuckled. Fine. Let us do this. For Jamie. For Hope. But we'll do it together. As everyone in the diner cheered, Charlie could feel the heartbeat of the community surging. They were ready to leap into a new chapter together. But in the corner, he noticed the inspector's eyes narrowing. Something roiled beneath the surface. Was he holding back another part of the story? Dottie, Charlie called, feeling a prickle on his skin as uncertainty washed over him again. What else do we need to know? Are we prepared for whatever's down there? Dottie remained silent for a moment, uncertainty crossing her face. Could there truly be more secrets hidden beneath their feet? The murmurs filled the diner again, excitement mixed with trepidation. In that moment, Charlie realized they weren't just looking for a treasure. They were digging for the truth of the community, of their stories, perhaps even of themselves. As they stood on the precipice of the unknown, the question remained: what awaited them below? What buried past still lingered, ready to rise again? The atmosphere crackled with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Dottie looked around the room, her heart racing. She felt the anticipation radiating from each face, hungry for answers and perhaps a little thrill at the thought of an adventure. But the heaviness in the air wasn't lost on her, and she could sense the echoes of unresolved stories that lingered like ghosts, just waiting to be unearthed. All right, everyone. She clapped her hands to channel the nervous energy that filled the diner. Let us gather what we might need. I'll grab some flashlights, and maybe a few crowbars. Just in case. Dottie exclaimed, her voice a mix of determination and lightheartedness, which drew a chuckle from the crowd. As she disappeared into the back of the diner, Charlie stood behind, glancing at the inspector. The man's tight expression didn't inspire confidence. What secrets could be lurking beneath those basement stairs? He instinctively felt drawn toward the inspector, a silent question hanging between them. Are you all right? Charlie asked quietly, careful not to interrupt the bubbling energy of the crowd as people began to pull together items in excitement. The inspector turned slightly toward him, his eyes darting as if he weighed his words. You have to understand, sometimes what we dig up isn't just treasure. Sometimes it can unearth memories that people want to stay buried. Charlie felt a chill running down his spine at the inspector's words. Is that what happened to Jamie? Is there something we should know? A flicker of sadness crossed the inspector's face, but he quickly masked it. There's more to a story than you can see. Just be cautious. With that, he turned away, leaving Charlie with an unsettling feeling. Suddenly, Dottie re-emerged, her arms loaded with tools. Who's ready for an adventure? She called out, her eyes sparkling, momentarily pushing aside her earlier melancholy. The room ignited with cheers, the mood shifting dramatically as everyone crowded around her. Let us do this for Jamie. Let us go find our treasure. She rallied, her spirit infectious. With flashlights in hand, the group trickled towards the basement door, the anticipation palpable. Charlie hung back for a moment, contemplating how much he truly wanted to enter that darkness. But the sound of laughter ahead beckoned him, the sense of community tied him to this moment. As they reached the rickety staircase leading down to the basement, Charlie felt the weight of history in the air. The wood creaked ominously under their feet. He could hear almost whispered echoes of the past, sounds that might carry tales of joy and sorrow both. "What do you think we'll find down there?" A voice piped up from the group, filled with youthful curiosity. "I hope it's some epic treasure," someone else laughed. But Dottie's expression grew serious as she stepped ahead, readying the flashlight. "Sometimes, it's not about the treasure itself, but rather what it means to us," she said softly, almost to herself. "And what it might reveal." They reached the bottom. Dottie's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, landing on a stack of dusty boxes. As they shuffled closer, the air grew thick with dust, the smell of forgotten things wafting toward them. "Let us open them," someone urged, the enthusiasm bubbling up like soda cans popped and fizzing over. But as Dottie lifted the lid of the first box, a series of muffled sounds echoed through the basement, a low thudding, almost rhythmic. The group froze, the air suddenly spun with tension, the laughter replaced by hushed whispers. "What was that?" someone asked, eyes wide. Charlie felt his heart race. It wasn't just another box they were opening, it felt like they were on the edge of unveiling a mystery, one tethered to Dottie, her son, and their community. "Wait!" Dottie shouted, her voice breaking through the whispers. "Maybe we should take a moment before we dig deeper." The mood hung heavy again. What was brewing in that basement? What truths would be revealed if they pushed forward? As anticipation gripped the space, an even more pressing question emerged. Would they be prepared for whatever darkness lay ahead? And could the truth, once revealed, change everything they thought they knew about themselves and each other? The room felt charged with a potent mix of fear and curiosity, like static before a storm. Dottie steadied her breathing, her heart racing again, pounding in sync with the unfamiliar sounds echoing through the basement. Her grip tightened around the flashlight, a talisman shimmering against the encroaching dark. "Okay, everyone," she urged, her voice steady despite the unease trickling in. "Let us keep it together. We don't know what we're dealing with here." Charlie caught the eye of the inspector, who stood back, his arms crossed, expression unreadable. Was this a moment to take charge, or a chance to tread lightly? The inspector's earlier warning echoed in his mind, and he felt a knot of worry tighten in his gut. Those thuds were insistent, almost pleading. "Shouldn't we just go back?" someone whispered, visibly shaken. The excitement that had ignited moments before flickered like a candle, wavering in an unseen draft. "No way," another voiced, undeterred. "This is our chance. Jamie would want us to find out what really happened." That sentiment sparked something resolute in Charlie. Jamie had been part of their small community, and losing him had left an emptiness no one fully understood. Dottie deserved answers, and perhaps, deep down, so did Charlie. With a collective nod from the group, they stepped closer to the boxes. The darkness loomed, heavy with unsaid words and veiled memories. Dottie pushed the lid of the first box up a little further. The muffled sounds grew more pronounced. It was almost rhythmic now, like a heartbeat intermingled with the fretfulness of the crowd. "What if it's something bad?" a girl murmured, her lips quivering. Dottie turned to her, eyes glowing with an unyielding challenge. "What if it's something wonderful? We're here for Jamie, to honor him. Let us not forget the strength he had." Those words wrapped around Charlie, warming him against the impending dread. Jamie had embodied bravery, and whatever lay beneath the surface deserved their respect. "Okay then," Charlie rallied, stepping closer to the box. "Let us figure out what this is all about." He took a deep breath and reached inside. The cold air brushed against his fingers, sending an electric shiver down his spine. The box revealed old books, documents, and dust-coated photographs. Mixed amongst them was a small, locked chest. Its ornate details caught the flashlight's beam, promising secrets long hidden. This looks important," Charlie breathed, his heart quickening further. "Let us break it open." Someone shouted, excitement bubbling anew. "Wait." Dottie's voice was firm. "We should see what's in the other boxes first. We might get a better picture with all the context." One by one, they opened the remaining boxes, revealing letters, newspaper clippings, and family mementos. Each item seemed to tell a story, a tapestry of lives woven together, center to the mystery of Jamie's fate. Excitement morphed into something deeper, a sense of purpose. Yet, the beating grew louder, resonating through the basement walls. Dottie paused, eyes narrowing. "That sound, it's not just here, is it? It's coming from inside the chest." Charlie's heart pounded louder in his ears. What had they stumbled into? As he exchanged glances with Dottie and the others, an unexpected wave of courage washed over him. They all felt it, a thread connecting them to the answers they were desperately seeking. "Together?" he asked, looking around. "Together." They echoed back, a palpable unity igniting the atmosphere. With renewed resolve, Dottie approached the chest. If they were to discover the truth, they had to face it head-on. As she pulled a crowbar from her belt, the tension rose to a crescendo. At that moment, everything felt like it was hanging in the balance. Whatever lay inside, it would change them all. "Let us do this," she said, her voice steady, but Charlie could sense the tremor beneath her resolve. With a swift pry, the chest creaked open, revealing shadows and, perhaps, the very secrets that had haunted their community. But as they leaned in to peer inside, the basement door suddenly slammed shut behind them, cutting off their escape. The darkness deepened, and in that moment, uncertainty clawed at the edges of their brave camaraderie. What had they unleashed? And was everyone prepared for the revelations that might follow? The air shifted as they all turned towards the noise of the door slamming, a sound that seemed to reverberate through the very bones of the basement. Charlie's pulse raced, a mix of adrenaline and fear coursing through him. The light flickered above them, casting long shadows that danced against the walls, and a cold sweat broke out on his forehead. "Dottie, what do we do?" he hissed, his voice barely above a whisper, panic creeping in as the weight of the situation settled over them. Dottie, her brow furrowed in concentration, gripped the edge of the chest tighter. "We have to stay calm," she managed, barely hiding the quaver in her voice. "Let us finish what we started." But even as she spoke, an unsettled shuffling danced in the air, a sense of doom creeping around them like an unwanted ghost. "Maybe we shouldn't," another voice came, quavering and uncertain. The crowd shifted, unease bubbling just under the surface. "No. We're not turning back now." Dottie shot back, rallying them again. "We want to honor Jamie, and this is how we do it." Her words felt like an anchor in the chaos, grounding them, reminding everyone of their purpose. As their gazes fell back toward the now open chest, rusted hinges creaked and a mix of dust and history burst forth into the humid air. They leaned in closer, the flashlight beam trembling as they caught their first glimpse of what lay inside. A collection of objects spilled out: a tarnished locket, brittle letters tied with a piece of fraying green ribbon, and photos that seemed to capture laughter and memories from another life. Each item held memories, stories, and fragments of Jamie's world, and there, hidden beneath them, lay an old tape recorder. Charlie's heart pounded in his chest as he reached for it. "What's this?" His fingers brushed against the cold metal, and immediately a flash of hope ignited within him. What if it holds his voice? Can we even play it? Someone in the crowd piped up, curiosity igniting once again. "Let us find out," Dottie said, her spirit rekindled with determination. They scrambled for a way to power the ancient device. Someone found a small set of batteries tucked away in one of the boxes. The light from the flashlight played tricks on the walls, eliciting murmurs of anticipation from the group. Charlie took a deep breath and stabilized the recorder, his thumb trembling as he pressed the play button. The machine whirred to life, crackling with static, until Jamie's familiar voice echoed back at them sharply. "Hey everyone," Jamie's voice floated through the dark, calm but laced with an underlying tension. "If you're hearing this, then I have something important to tell you. You deserve to know the whole truth about what happened." Gasps rippled through the crowd. They leaned in closer, holding their breath. Dottie's eyes widened, and Charlie felt all eyes turn to him, drawn by Jamie's memory and the promise of answers they had been craving. "I need you all to listen carefully. The events that led to my unraveling, they involve more than I could ever share. Secrets that tie us all, that connect our lives in ways you can't even begin to imagine." Charlie's heart sank, the weight of those words heavy in the air. What could Jamie possibly mean? What had happened that they didn't know? Confusion twisted in his gut, yet a glimmer of hope hung in the corners of his mind, a chance, perhaps, to piece everything together. And then, the tape crackled and faltered, the remainder of Jamie's message swallowed by static as the tape began to end. "Jamie, no!" Dottie cried, her voice a mix of frustration and desperation. "Can we rewind it?" Charlie asked, his hands gripping the recorder hard. "What if it wipes it out completely?" Someone protested. The group erupted in muffled chaos, voices rising above one another, and at that moment, the basement itself seemed to respond, shaking with a low rumble, mirrors of their anxiety reverberating in the walls around them, and just then, something else echoed from deeper within the shadows, a sound, unmistakable, yet terrifying. They all froze. Hearts pounding, bracing for whatever might emerge next. What had they unleashed, and what truth was lurking just beyond their reach? The silence that draped over the basement felt suffocating, heavy with anticipation. Everyone stood frozen, glancing at Dottie, who looked torn between hope and dread. Their hearts raced, the tension almost unbearable. What more could Jamie's voice reveal? "Let us press play again." Someone yelled over the fearful murmurs, cutting through the clutter of uncertainty. Charlie felt the urge to act. We couldn't let fear consume them. "Hold on," he shouted back, desperate for calmness. "We need to stick together. This is bigger than any one of us." His voice steadied the crowd, but the shadows remained, lurking just out of sight. With a determined breath, Dottie reached for the recorder, her fingers trembling. "Okay, let us hear what Jamie has to say." "We deserve the truth," she said, her voice regaining its strength. Slowly, she pressed play again, and the whirring noise filled the room. "Hey everyone," Jamie's voice spilled out. Tension filled the air again, but this time it felt different. It felt charged with expectation. "It's important for you to know that the truth has the power to heal, even if it stings," Jamie continued. "There are things I kept hidden, fragile pieces of my life that connect us all. I need you to open your heart. I need you to understand." Charlie exchanged glances with Lisa, their fingers entwined, a silent pact to face whatever came next. Dottie leaned closer, her eyes glimmering with tears. "I was sick, yes, but don't let that become the only story. What I faced in the shadows was bigger than just me. There were choices, heaviness from the expectations that weighed down on me, and I let that darkness silence my voice." The room quieted. Everyone listened, intent on Jamie's revelations. He continued, "Every plate served at Dottie's isn't just food. It's built from love, support, and a promise to carry each other's burdens. You've all made Dottie's a home for my memory. In doing so, you've held each other up through heartache and love." A few sighed, some wiped their eyes. Charlie could feel something shifting, positivity replacing doubt. "Remember me as I was, but also as a reminder that you can't be afraid to share your struggles. You're never alone. Open your hearts, and keep building that community." His voice crackled again, almost pleading. "Find hope in every corner." As the message faded, their surroundings echoed with the weight of Jamie's words. The feeling in the room shifted, the shadows seemed to recede, replaced by the warmth of shared understanding. Jamie has given us a gift, Dottie said softly. He has invited us to honor his memory by living full of love and courage. The crowd began to murmur, energy flooding back as if a spark had been ignited. Together, they shouted, voices rising until it became a collective anthem. Together. Charlie felt bravery blossom, the community's spirit blossoming anew, but before they could bask in the moment, the basement door rattled. The inspector stepped forward, his serious expression slightly softened. I see that this is meaningful to you, he said, glancing around the room at their hopeful faces. But we have to address the safety concerns first. Safety? Charlie stepped in, feeling emboldened. Dottie's holds something far more significant than just regulations. It holds our lives, emotions, and perseverance. Let us build something together. The crowd surged with fervor. Yes. Someone shouted, the inspector sighed, glancing back at the exit. Something flickered in his eyes. Maybe you're right, he nodded tentatively, drawing the attention of the crowd. But safety needs consideration too. Perhaps we can work together to keep this place alive. Dottie stepped forward, her stance strong and inviting. Let us make this a partnership. We'll respect safety and regulations, but we also want to preserve the heart of Dottie's, she urged. Her voice rang with determination, holding the promise of unity. An energy surged, like a wave washing over them. The inspector finally cracked a smile, just a glimmer, but it was enough to turn the tide. All right, he said, his brow relaxing. Let us see what we can do. Together approving some renovations, maybe even a community event to celebrate Dottie's. This could be a true partnership. Cheers erupted, hands clapped together. The bond that united them, forged through shared history and struggle, lit the path forward. As they moved towards the future, Dottie turned to Charlie and Lisa, her eyes shining with gratitude. Thank you for standing strong. You both played a part in breathing life into our memories. Charlie beamed back, feeling a warmth like never before. In this community, they had not only salvaged a diner but reignited love, hope, and rebirth in each other. As laughter rang through the air, Charlie took a moment to breathe it all in, the future shining bright before them, built on compassion and courage. Now about that treasure, Dottie suggested playfully, glancing at the locked chest. The crowd laughed, shaking off the earlier tension. In that moment, they knew the treasure had never really been hidden beneath the surface. It had always been right there all around them, kinship, shared stories, love. Together, they would keep forging the future of Dottie's diner, creating a legacy that would stand the test of time and honor Jamie's spirit. We'll always find a way to rebuild, Charlie smiled, entwining his hand with Lisa's. They would carry the stories forward, ensuring no person would walk alone again within Dottie's embrace, and as they spilled into the light, laughter echoing behind them, everyone could feel their transformation gleaming brighter than any treasure they could unearth. Now, beautifully bonded, they stepped into the dawn of their lives with unyielding hope, knowing they could face whatever lay ahead. This is a new beginning. Don't wait not even one more second to share this story. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive tale. Leave a like now to help us grow and feed this beautiful community. Comment to reach out and share your thoughts, feelings, and reactions to this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we make magic happen.